This is the new Prs Guitar Stand. If you're into heavy metal, it's metal and it's heavy. And if you notice, it has a trochoidal bass. That's right, all you Wankel fans will know what that is. It's a great way to display your guitar, and of course your PRS guitar. We have.
So if you're thinking about starting a podcast and you need something that's going to solve a lot of problems for you, no matter which way you want to do it, you're not sure if you want to do streaming, you want to have guests over Skype or Zoom, you want to have guests that don't know how to Skype or Zoom and you want to use your phone to call them up, you have a solution for all those different things and a way to record them super easily at a really high level. That's it. Doesn't get much better than that. The Zoom PodTrack P4 is available at chucklevins.com. Check it out, $199. And get podcasting.
So the Toka Kit Box Suitcase Drum Kit with the bass drum, snare, and the tom-tom. The snare may also be disengaged. Fun little kit. Check it out at chucklevins.com.
Gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish I would. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Everybody watch out. Watch out now. I'm ready for a good time and I came to groove. The whole band's here and we came to move. Got a fresh haircut and 2 new shoes. We're here all night like we got nothing to lose. Coming out the jacket cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get up out your seat. It's time to make it happen when we hit these streets. I'm coming in hot and I can't be beat. Watch out now.
Hello world. Wow, here we are.
Here we are.
11. I got Darren, I got DZ, Darren Zentek with me.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to another episode of Chuck Levin's Live. Happy Wednesday, as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful day, beautiful fall October day in the world of music.
Mm-hmm.
Darren, how you feeling? How's it going in the drum
Feeling pretty
department?
It's good.
Live from the drum department.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time we've actually been live in the newly redesigned drum department.
Yes.
If you haven't been here in a minute, you got to come check it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's clean,
Counter.
it's organized. You got all kinds of cool stuff going on.
Got rid of a lot of garbage. Yep.
Got rid of some garbage. Got ready for some new stuff.
Yep.
Got room for some new cool gear because it's go time.
That's right.
That's it.
That's it.
Before we get into some really cool content today, as usual, we have a super sweet giveaway from our friends at Roland who are sponsoring this stream, because we're going to talk about the new VAD kits from Roland, which are unreal, super fire, super cool. We're giving away an RDT-RV drum throne. Boom. You got to have somewhere to sit.
That's right.
And there it is. A great place to sit. You got about 30 minutes left in this giveaway. So the guys behind the scenes are going to drop in the comments on how you can enter. Easy. Don't miss out. It's free. Could not be easier. So, don't sleep on this. Get yourself a cool place to sit. You could be a drummer. You might not be a drummer. It still works. I promise you. You can also sign up on chucklevins.com. It's easy peasy. Lots of ways to do it. Just get it done. Just do the thing. But without further ado, today we're talking about V-drums. We've done some V-drums before, but now we're going into the latest release in V-drums, the VAD kits. And we have Pat Kennedy from Roland with us today. Let's bring him in.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Welcome.
Pat.
Hey, Pat.
How's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me, everybody. We're going to go ahead and play the VAD 506 is what I'm playing today. And do you want to bring James on too, or do you want to play first and then we'll bring in James? So here we go. Let's see what these babies sound like.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is the stuff right there.
Man, this is just the most immersive, enjoyable experience when you're playing these VAD kits. And so we're just so excited here at Roland to have this new groundbreaking technology, this design that feels great, looks great, of course, right? And it's just like I'm sitting at my acoustic kit playing, and nothing's different, right? I'm not changing anything about how I'm playing. I'm not changing technique type, nothing like that. And so it's just a phenomenal experience that I hope everyone of you watching can get down to Chuck Levin's and check it out and see for yourself, because they have them in stock ready to go for you. So
Take
that's
us
what
through
I
it.
urge
Like,
you all
what
to
are,
do is
what are
get
we
down
looking
there and
at?
get your hands on one.
When we're looking at a VAD kit, like, you know, people have seen V drums. You guys have made like a staple in the world of electronic drums. What does the VAD do that takes us to like a whole new level? Like, what are we talking about here?
Absolutely. So with the V drums acoustic design, all the knowledge that we have developed over the years with our V drums technology, right? You know, over 25 years of V drums, and we are learning those things every day. And we've now taken those ideas, those technological advances, those concepts with sensitivity, with triggering, all of that, and we've now integrated it into full-size drum shells. So what we really have done here is we're blurring the lines between the electronic world and the acoustic world. And no longer can the excuse be, I don't like the way electronic drums look, because these don't look like electronic drums. They don't even feel like electronic drums. They feel like an acoustic drum kit, because with the full-size shells, you just, having the mass of a pad that size, it's, you know, to replicate that is very challenging. And so we didn't replicate it. We just did it. So we took our baskets, our triggering, sensors and designs, specially formulated those baskets for the shells. So now even the shells and the baskets are designed to be integrated together. So it's not just as if we put some mesh heads on it and called it a day. No, we reformulated the triggering mechanisms themselves. So there's no hot spotting on these drums whatsoever. So if I'm going to switch over to my overview cam here so we can really get a look here. So we have a 10-inch tom, a 12-inch tom, and a 14-inch full-size floor tom, and then a 20-inch kick drum by 16 inches. So it's super robust. And the feeling, I mentioned mass of drums earlier. So when you talk about a mass of something pushing back at you, like just the physics of it, you feel the air moving through the drum. You feel it pushing back at you a little bit. It gives you that resistance, that stick feel, that feeling that we're used to being and used to having when we're playing in acoustic drum kits. That's what you get when you sit behind and play this kit. And then the other baskets, like I said, we had 0 hot spotting issues, and there's actually 3 zones in this basket, and this is a 3-zone basket as well. And so the cones are on the outside here, and the cone here is closer to the rim. It's actually right here. It's hard to see, but I can see it through the mesh a little bit. So I know it's right here. So when we're hitting the drums, I mean, it's dynamically going with you in a linear fashion, and V drums have always done that. But you know, now that we couple it with the feel, and it's just absolutely exactly what you expect out of a drum. When you're hitting a 12-inch tom closer to the rim, it sounds different than when you hit it in the center. And a lot of that has to do with our sensing, right? Our sensing capabilities, our triggering capabilities, but a lot of it has to do with the module as well, with our fast sound engines and the nearly zero latency, you know, the lowest latency available in an electronic drum kit. You're going to find those with Roland products. And so you don't get any of that lag or that machine gunny type feel. You get a very dynamic linear expression of all of your range of the tonal colors of every drum. It's just phenomenal.
It's next generation. It's the real deal.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there are a couple different models of the VADs, right?
Yes.
So what's the difference? What are the different models, and what do we got going on? Should we bring James in for this?
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring James on too, because he's going to share some great images with us too. So.
There he is.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Good
James,
to be with
welcome
you.
to the stream.
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't you two explain your roles in this world too, real quick, before we just start talking drums?
Sure. Go ahead, Pat.
So, my name's Pat Kennedy, and I am the product manager for V Drums. And I work closely with the Roland Americas group as well, which is Canada, United States, Mexico, and Brazil, and that hemisphere of the globe. And I work closely with the design team in Japan, and then I also help, suss out ideas for the next iterations of things, or what the next version should do or not do. So I have a very fun job that I get to do that and get to share my input with the rest of the global team on the future of V Drums products. And we love hearing feedback from everybody, because that helps us, know if we're going down the right path, and creating the things that are musically fulfilling to you guys, to the users out there. So that's what I get to do. And then James.
I am the channel strategy manager for drums and percussion at Roland, and my job is basically to help facilitate a lot of the different marketing initiatives and sales initiatives that we have throughout the country. And so I work closely with Pat, obviously, and I live on the East Coast as well, so I do a lot of product specialist type of work too, in stores and online like this as well. And so, yeah, that's Pat and I work very, very closely, obviously, and we're super excited to be here. And I have a couple of different components here. I don't have a full kit, but I do have a module right on the side here that we can go through a couple of different key settings that will help kind of talk about what this thing can really do when we get under the hood. And I also have, if we can see, kind of an up close, if this is going to focus, the 12-inch tom, just so you can see the finish. I don't know if it's going to focus.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful midnight sparkle, and under the light, it really does pop quite well. And so, we're talking about the visual aspect. Sure, there's a massive difference between a V Drums kit in terms of stage presence, and how many times have you been at a show or even at a house of worship, and the drummers there they just don't want to play behind something that kind of looks like an electronic drum kit, and that's fair, So this kind of helps fill that need of, especially in a house of worship where sound reinforcement is always such a problem, specifically with drums because they are loud. We can really dial everything in, get the mix very, very correct, and have it very pleasant for everyone in the congregation. So from houses of worship then to full on venues that don't want the look of an electronic drum set. They don't want it to feel or have that visual aesthetic of, oh, this is an electronic kit. A lot of drummers and a lot of musicians in general just like the stage presence that an acoustic kit brings, and so we wanted to make a product that fulfills both of those aspects.
Absolutely. And Adam, I'm going to jump back in. You asked a question earlier of different models, right? And so the acoustic design is actually available in 2 series. And so we have the 5 series, which is the 506 that we're looking at today. And then it also comes in a 503 configuration, which is, I'm going to switch back over to my overhead shot. The 503 would be the bass drum, the snare drum, the 10-inch tom, the 14-inch floor tom, the 14-inch crash, and your ride and hi-hats, right? And the module, of course. So you essentially take the 12-inch tom away, the combo stand that holds it, and the 16-inch crash cymbal. So those 3 items are available in the 506, and then the 503, you take those 3 items away, and then you have the 1 up, 1 down setup, which is really cool. Very popular setup. I love that setup. I typically actually play that when I'm playing live, is the 1 up, 2 down. I like that. This one can be configured in that arrangement as well. You can put the tom like this, and then I've actually set this up where I've inverted the 12-inch tom to be hanging down here like this, right? So you can have sort of the 12-inch tom here and then your 14-inch tom over here. So that's a pretty cool setup as well. And then the other series that's available now as well is the 3 series. And there's one kit in the 3 series, which is called the 306. James, do you have an image of any of those ready to go that you could share on screen?
Let me share my screen here.
While he's checking that out. So the 306 is the toms are a little bit more shallow shelled, right? And they don't have a mesh head on the bottom. And these toms do. They're mesh head on top and a mesh head on the bottom, so it's a fully enclosed tom. And then the 306, they're a little bit more shallow. It's a very, very fun kit, and it has a really cool, like, frequent flyer type bass drum where it's sort of that, nice shallow, like 6-inch deep bass drum. It's super hip. All mounts to tripod hardware. That's one of the great things about the V-Drums Acoustic Design brand, actually, is that, we took the rack away, and so it's mounting to tripod hardware. So as James alluded earlier, it's not just about having it look cool at home, but now it's trying to encourage you to pack this up and take it out of your house, right? Take it to a gig and go set this thing up. I mean, you can strike this and put it into drum cases just like you would your acoustic kit, toss it in your car or truck or van, and then head on to the gig and plug it in, and you're done. And it's just amazing. And the 5 series, the 506 and 503, that is powered by the TD27 module. The kit that James has up on screen right now is the 306. That is powered by the TD17 module. Okay,
yeah,
so
you guys see that?
That's some of the other differences of the 3 series versus the 5 series. Are those things, as well as just the overall configuration of the kits. And I know Adam and Darren, you said you both have you have both the 503 and 506 at the shop right now, yeah?
Yep. It looks like we have the other model as well.
Oh, beautiful. So yeah, you guys, you have a golden opportunity here. They're one of the places that's set up with these kits right now on that region, or on the West Coast in that region. So take advantage of that, everybody. Get down there and check these kits out for yourself. Get your stands on them, get your sticks on them, and just have a blast. You're gonna love them.
So I did have a question about the stands. Are the cables attached inside the stand?
So the cables are not attached inside the stand. However, we are able to run it through the stand if you want. So we've actually done that. We did that at NAMM. You can carefully, on the bottom of the tripod with the feet, you can feed up the lead all the way through the top, and it's hard to see on this camera, but it's a removable, it's a telescoping boom arm, right? So you have that little bit of give right there. If you boom the arm out, you have a little opening that cable can sneak through, and then you can fish it up. So it's a great way to do it. You can feed it up through there. I just have mine neatly cabled and tied down with Velcro on my stands as well. Okay. So the way that works, Darren, is with the 27 module, it is a cable loom, right? So it's a harness where there's a multi-pin adapter that attaches to the module itself, and then it all snakes out from there. And they're extra long cables as well to get it underneath the bass drum, right? So you can really get a sleek, super beautiful looking drum kit that you don't have a lot of wires everywhere, right? Because that's another reason that people can get a little turned off sometimes with electronic drums. But it's no different than at this point having mic cables attached to everything. You know what I mean? So it looks great.
Yeah, and we haven't actually had a chance to set this up at the store because it's been since NAMM since we've actually gotten to see one of these. So this is like our full-time demo into these things since NAMM. They've been coming in and coming out so fast. They've been so popular that we actually haven't had a chance to get our hands on these things yet. So we're getting real eyes and ears on this for the first time as well. This is killer.
Well, that's really good news. I mean, the popularity, you're right, and it's out there, and people are ready for it. And I think that the time is now. This is a great time to do this, where we're streaming a lot of music right now, and so streaming acoustic drums is very challenging, right? Through a video feed, you don't always get the best sound quality. And with V drums, of course, you run the audio direct into your streaming source, and there it is, right? I mean, I have my module hooked into a video streaming device, which is right here. But all the sound you're hearing, really, there was minimal of anything needed in the module other than just some level adjustments of volume, and then you're ready to go. And so just think about if you're an educator or you're doing some online lessons and things like that, and maybe it's a little discouraging at times. Well, maybe V drums could be a great tool for you, and specifically V drums acoustic design could be, because it gives you the best of both worlds. You get that ultimate quality sound control, and you get the feel and the dynamic response that you're used to with your acoustic kit. So,
in fact, when we actually had these at NAMM, Adam, a lot of people came and they were saying, "Oh, you guys are making drums now," and they actually thought they were regular acoustic drums. And so it's nice that people thought that, because just that whole convincing look, but they are still very much are like V drums, meaning they're close to silent. So Pat has them in his in his apartment, and I didn't see his dog there, but usually his dog just comes up and lays right by the side, and it doesn't bother him at all. And so playing in an apartment, or maybe in a house where you don't want to bother people in other rooms, it's still very much a nearly silent V drums kit. So both of the heads are mesh. Even the underside of the tom is a mesh head, so there's no resonance even from hitting it. So you can play well into the night. You won't disturb anyone. You won't disturb your dog, cats, or anything like that. Oh,
that's a great point,
that
James.
Massive benefit to it.
Absolutely, and setting these, if you have a small studio at your place, ideal for a studio, because again, you can hook this right into your DAW and just immediately get your audio and MIDI tracks right there with one cable. It's one USB cable on the side of the module into your DAW, and you're done. And it's so slick. I've talked to many people that are using V drums in that way, right? They're still able to stay working and stay busy because they're utilizing V drums as a tool to do recordings remotely, right? They're recording from their house or from their garage or their apartment, for that matter, right? And they're using V drums to achieve that, which is really, really great. Thanks for bringing up my dog. He's at the groomer's getting a bath today.
Oh, okay.
That's why he's not laying here. Usually he would be right here hanging out with me. Yeah.
He was there last time. Before we get deeper into the VAD kits, we have a giveaway, as usual. Free stuff. There it is. Super cool throne from Roland. Just find your ways to enter. There's 1,800 entries so far. You got 15 minutes left. Don't sleep on it. It's easy to do. Guys, drop it in the comments on where you can go. You can go to our website, chucklevins.com. You can check it out right there on the homepage. Just do it. It's free. You might not be a drummer. You might know a drummer. Everyone needs somewhere to sit.
if James or I could enter, we would enter.
We would enter
That's
for
what I'm
sure.
just saying. Just letting you know. We got to be fair, right? We want you guys to reap the rewards here. So, but yeah,
Even
definitely.
keyboard players. I know a lot of keyboard players that love those thrones.
Good
They
stuff.
feel super comfy.
And it's free.
It's free.
Free stuff is always good stuff.
Free stuff is
fair.
great stuff.
So take us deeper into the VAD kit. Take us deeper into the brain, into the drums. What are we working on? What are we working with?
Okay, so I do want to touch on two more pads real quick that really make this kit extra special. And so the VAD acoustic design, V drums acoustic design, excuse me, incorporates the 14-inch digital snare drum and the 18-inch digital ride. So we're going back to my overhead shot here. So this is a full-sized steel-shelled snare drum. Like it is, you pick it up and it's heavy. It's chunky. But it feels awesome. And so you get the whole experience of a dynamic snare drum. And so the tonal characteristics of the drum are different everywhere on the pad. It's a digital pad, meaning that it runs to the module through a USB cable. Again, Roland is the only company that you're going to find digital drum pads with. And with the digital, you're able to send just a vast amount of information to the module very, very quickly. And then, of course, our BMC chip that we'll dive into a little bit later processes that information so quickly that you're able to get that. So it's not just a different dynamic sample from edge to middle. It actually changes the behavioral characteristics. So when I say BMC chip, that's behavior modeling. And so it models the snare drum here. Right? As you're out at the edge, you get a little more of the overtone of the drum. And you're able to get all of those accents in there. One of the other cool things with this multi-sensing multi-sensing triggers that we have here is it'll sense that your hand is touching it, so it'll automatically do a cross stick for you. Right? So you're able to get that. It feels that my hand is touching it. It has a static sensor, like I talked about, similar to what we have on our phones and things. And you can't do that. I didn't have to assign the cross stick into the module. It just knows to do that. And if I just hit the rim by itself, it's giving me that kind of snare drum rim shot sound. So it behaves just like an acoustic snare drum would. Similar with the digital ride cymbal. So it's over here. We have our 18-inch ride. And I can just touch it with one finger and it takes the sound away. So it feels my hand on there. I could also touch it and still play it. Right? And you're able to get that seamless transition from bell to bow to edge, and you're able to get that. And you're not assigning those sounds in the module at all. You just assign it one cymbal sound, and the digital connection does the rest. It knows when you're hitting the bell. It knows when you're here. It knows when you're there and anywhere in between. And so those digital pads are game-changing. And we brought those to the market through our flagship model, the TT50 series, right, which is still our flagship top-of-the-line module. And we developed those pads specifically for that module. Now we've migrated them down into the V Drums acoustic design, into the TT27. And so you're able to connect those digital pads And the DNA of the TD50 is mixed into the TD27 module, right? They're all related. They're all sharing that common, some common information, some common sound design type ideas and approaches. And so with the 27, we're going to get into it a little deeper, and James has one at his place too, so we're going to show his on screen. Just the amount of things that you can really do to customize and dial in your sounds is incredible. So, for example, you can see my screen here. We are able to quickly edit the sounds. There's direct edit knobs right on the module. And so there's a knob for selecting the instrument, the level, the tuning, and the muffling. So all 4 of those you can adjust. So I'm going to go to a user kit here real quick. And here's our snare drum. And if I turn the instrument knob, I can go ahead and just select different snare drums. And as I demonstrated earlier, there's the rim knock. I didn't touch anything in the module to do that. It knows. It's intuitive. It's amazing. Now, you find the snare that you like. So I'll go with this aluminum snare. Now I can edit it even further. So I hit my edit button and I can edit my tuning. So I cursor over. If you try to tune a real snare drum like that, chances are it wouldn't sound very good, right? That low, deep, the head would just be too floppy. You wouldn't even get any resonance out of the drum. So you're able to push the limit here as to what you're able to do and accomplish with this module. Let me go back to my aluminum drum and go over to the tuning one more time. So even when I crank it up to the very top, you can still hear that it's a snare drum. It's not just some, it doesn't sound like a tabletop. It's just a high-pitched snare drum, which is really incredible. These are things that you cannot achieve with an acoustic drum alone, I guarantee you. James, you have any comments in there?
Yeah, it's interesting when you actually, use that tuning. It's not really just affecting pitch. So people will think that its pitch is being affected. But when you tune the drum, Darren certainly knows it's not just affecting pitch. It's actually changing the timbre of the drum. It sounds, when you go way high, it sounds more choked. There's not as much resonance. The interesting thing about some of the modules that we can just affect the pitch or we can affect the tuning. So the pitch will just take that frequency and adjust to higher, but it's not going to change the timbre like you would when you're actually cranking down a drum. This tuning aspect actually changes both. So it's really like actually going in and tightening up the head. So it's quite remarkable. If you just want to affect the pitch, you can actually go in and just edit the pitch. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of other.
And then the other cool thing too is the muffling, like I said earlier. So you can add different amounts of stuff, right? Tape and donuts and different things to different levels. Absolutely incredible. And then also level. So with the level, what I can do is specifically adjust the level of each pad, not the kit. So I can bring just the snare drum up or take it way down, whichever you prefer, right? And you can do this across all the drums. So you can take all of your drums and specifically dial in the exact audio level that you're looking for. So you can pre-mix your audio before you even send it out to the front of house or through the PA system, right? Pretty awesome.
Here's one thing.
The other great thing here is, what's that, James?
I love to mention the Snare Buzz feature. So when you're playing an acoustic kit, you hit a tom-tom or, the bass drum or something like that, it affects the sympathetic vibrations affect the snare buzz. So you can actually dial that in. If you want to turn that all the way off, you can, or if you want to have some of that buzz, that sympathetic vibration come through the mix, you can do that in it. They really thought of pretty much everything when it comes to all the different variabilities of a drum kit.
Yep. And not only is it just tuning and muffling, but again, you can adjust the physical drum itself. You can adjust the size of it. Have you ever had a 30-inch deep tom-tom? I've never owned one, but now we can, you know? And you can really just stretch the limits of what we're used to in our physical world. And then you can adjust the head type. You can go with a coated head, pinstriped, clear for a little bit more punch. And then here's that snare drum buzz that James was talking about. So right now I have it off, but right, you hear that little bit of a sizzle at the end. That would be the sympathetic vibration on your acoustic kit from that tom resonating with the snare. And I can do it all around the kit. There's a 30-inch deep bass drum. Let's do that, right? Snare buzz. So now we have, a very, very natural sounding, natural feeling drum kit with all this snare buzz and a ridiculously deep bass drum of 30 inches. But it's all fun, right? Why not do it? So exactly the wonderfulness of V drums and what you can do. Another feature, if with all this V edit, is you can add sub instruments. So let me put the size of the drum back to normal here, so we're not freaking anybody out. So we'll go with a 16-inch drum, and I'm going to turn my snare buzz down because I really want you to hear this sub instrument. So what do I mean by sub instrument? Well, we can trigger 2 samples at once with a single hit. So in the essence of the kick drum, here is my sample right now, and I want to turn my sub instrument on. So what I can do is select some other kick sounds and just layer them together. So here's off, on. Now that's actually the same sound twice. So to make it even more fun, let's put a whole different type of snare drum or a kick drum on here. Let's find a close mic kick. So there it is, off, and then on. It just beefs up the sound, and then I can even customize it further over here by bringing up or down that sub sample. So the sub sample, I can bring it up in the mix or bury it in the mix. Okay, and so again, if you're not able to just find the sound in the module, though, then we've set it up so that it's able to be created, and to be created in a very direct way. So you don't have to go diving very far into the module to get all these enhancements and all these customization techniques available to you. James, you want to add anything else on that sub instrument?
Yeah, you can even edit the features like we were talking about before. You can go into some of those V-editing features in the sub instrument. So that's just a great way to really dial in any sort of sound you want. I think with all the different sound combinations, there's over 1 million different choices that you can make, or combinations of sounds. But if that's not enough, you can sample import onto the TD27. So if you have a sample that you want, let's say your specific drum that you've sampled, you can throw that on an SD card and then put that in the module and upload it. So you can, literally be playing your kit on the TD27.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's a lot of professionals out there and just recording pros and people that do it as hobbies that are able to sample their kit into the module and use it as if they're playing their own drum set in a mic'd up studio setting. And that's a great way to incorporate the best of both worlds. You have the beautiful sounding acoustic kit that you adore and love, and then you can sample that and just put it into the module so you have access to it at all times, 24/7, to be able to use it whenever you want, without having to put up a bunch of microphones and re-EQ the mic settings and all that. You just have it saved exactly the way you want it, and then you can edit your own samples as well once you load them in there. And then you can layer your samples with the onboard samples as well. So you could make your samples, the bass, and then you can add the sub sample as something else, as another preset sample that's in the module. Absolutely incredible.
And they don't even have to be drum sounds, right? That's just a wave file. It can be, a synth lick. It can be a bunch of, it can be anything you want, really. It can be a sound of your own voice. So it's a really cool feature to get creative, with electronic drums. You can put really anything you want. So it's
and the other really cool thing about the module too, guys,
drums,
is
it's really its own unique instrument.
Oh, sorry, James, didn't mean to step on your toes there, buddy.
No, go ahead.
Is we have it also set up in the way where you can scroll quickly through the samples. So we have them separated into folders, essentially. So we have the kick sounds, processed kick sounds, electronic kick sounds, snares, cross sticks. I mean, just every category that we have. And so this way you can quickly jump to the type of instrument you're looking for, whether it be toms or cymbals or percussion or hi-hats or rides or crashes, whatever. And then once you find your category, then you scroll down and then you can see the different sample types that are in there, right? And then what James was talking about with your user samples, that's at the end of the list. So we have, sound effects and some elements in here and some brush techniques and toms and stuff. So here's our user samples that you load in via SD card that then you can assign to any pad or rim, any head or rim of any pad on this drum kit. And it's just, limitless really as to what you can do, virtually limitless. Now, some of these elements are really cool because elements are, like the attack of a drum, things like that. So it's not necessarily a whole new sound, just a characteristic of the sound. So for example, like here's the kick attack. So we're just adding a little bit more beef to the front end of that sound, right? Or here's like a growler sound. So off. That's pretty awesome, right? Can't do that on your acoustic drum kit. I guarantee you that. So really it starts to inspire creativity too, right? I mean, you start to really, you have a like I said, a virtually limitless sonic palette of whatever you want to do. And now you're not limited by the physical world. You can actually do it in the module and design things that normally wouldn't be able to be designed at all.
One of my favorite features is actually the overhead feature. You can change the overhead mics in kind of this virtual. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of blurry. Sorry about that. But you can change the overheads in this virtual sound booth or virtual room that the TD27 puts you in. And we have different types of mics. You can pretty much change the mic width. But if you really want to drastically change the sound of a kit, that is really probably my favorite feature. They really knocked it out of the park with the overhead templates and just what you can do and the various sound combinations that you can go in, and then you can send it to different pads, right? You don't have to be universal. You can actually just have the overheads coming through for the snare or for the cymbals, and then really take out all of the other elements if you want. But that's one thing I really love about this kit is just the overhead, the room.
So you can determine what's being picked up by the microphones.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did.
And then everything else can still trigger through and be played anyway, but you're getting mic simulation on just the stuff you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you just want to have the overhead mic on the toms only, then you would send that just to the tom channels, and so you're not getting overhead into the cymbals at all. Or your cymbals aren't getting into overhead, your kick and snare is not in the overhead. And so if we pull up, I have it on my screen, and so this is sort of showing you a visual pathway of kind of how everything goes. And on off, so we can turn the overheads on, and I'm going to dive into that a little bit like James did. And so these are the different environments and templates, we call them, that you can put your kit into. So we have clear, warm, dry, mild, bright, other, all sorts of fun stuff, right? So let's just try some of these. So here's the clear. And then let's do a dry. Right? So you're able to dry up the room sound right there. And you can go into the settings. You can send filters, limiters, mic settings. You can EQ it in there. I mean, you, again, like James said, it's just whatever you can think of, you can probably do it. And one of the other really fun features is the room. And so we can place the kit into different environments. So the room, I can adjust the even level of that room. So I'm going to bring the level up. So that would be infinitesimal, which means virtually no room sound at all. So let's bring it back to 0, and let's look at the different places that you can virtually put your kit into. So you're physically changing the environment of your kit without physically changing the environment of your kit. Does that make sense? So you're moving it from wherever it is in your home into different places. So like right now we're in a small studio. So you get that size of a room. Let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. So now we can play when the levee breaks and not have to set up our drum kit in a stairwell. So you're able to virtually put your kit pretty much anywhere you want, and then dial in the level of that room. So let's crank up this big hall as high as it'll go. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
So take us, yeah.
I had a question. Can you explain about the new crash cymbals being a little thinner?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, Darren,
I have one right here.
You're awesome, dude. That's great. So we talked about the new pads, of course, and one of the other game changer wow moment was the cymbals that we designed. So we have a 14-inch thin crash and a 16-inch thin crash, and when I say thin, I mean like thin.
You can kind of see it. I have it up here.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the profile of a cymbal. And I mean, it's thin. And they can kind of bend it. And the really benefit is that it feels it doesn't feel like you're hitting a rubber pad, right? It's so thin, it feels like you're hitting a metal plate that's going to move and vibrate just like an acoustic cymbal would. And the 16 is actually a ride cymbal. So it's a 3-zone pad. You can trigger the bell, the bow, and the edge, and so you can use this as a ride cymbal as well. But it's a fantastic cymbal, very, very kind of light to the touch, and when you dig in, it kind of has that flexibility and feels more like an acoustic cymbal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can feel it moving with you, right? And we've all seen those super cool videos of someone hitting a crash cymbal in slow motion, and you see the waves of the cymbal. We actually did that with one of these, and you can see it. You can see the cymbal moving. So as you strike it, the vibrations you see the cymbal physically move in slow motion, and so you get a visual confirmation of what you're feeling when you're playing it. And so when I was doing the playing example early on at the beginning of the stream, I was sort of laying into this as a crash ride, and it just felt so great because it doesn't shock up up your forearms in any way. You don't. It reduces some of that fatigue that could happen with hitting a rubber pad and you're just kind of overplaying too much. And so it sort of takes that tendency away. And it goes back to what I said at the very beginning was of this being an immersive playing experience where I'm not changing anything about how I'm playing at all. That's one of the things that I'm talking about. It's just, it feels exactly how you want it to feel. It responds to you exactly how you want it to respond. And these thin cymbals, I absolutely love them. They're going to be a great, fun accessory to add. So you decide to go ahead and get a VAD in any, formation, any configuration, and you'll be able to add extra pads to it, add more cymbals to it. Because the other cool thing about the TD27 module, everybody, is it's designed to expand. So it's all about connectivity. And we talked about being able to easily connect to your DAW through a USB cable, right? Well, it also has Bluetooth in it. So you can stream via Bluetooth. So you can stream play-along tracks or video lessons, right? And then you can record your audio with that streaming. So you can instantly create a track and send it back to your teacher or send it back to your bandmates. Maybe you're collaborating on writing a song, right? And they send you some files, some scratch tracks of guitar or whatever. You stream it through your module via Bluetooth. You record your session along with it, save it as a new file, and export it to your SD card, excuse me. And then you plug your SD card in your computer, and away you go. And you're sharing files back and forth that quickly, that easily. It's just all about connection and expandability, like I mentioned as well. So you can actually add, of what you see here, we could add 3 more things to this drum kit. 3 things, yeah. So like we could do a second floor tom, and there's 3 more auxiliary ports in the back of the module. So we could do like a second floor tom, a third crash cymbal, a second kick drum. You could do a double kick setup, which would be just absolutely killer. And so that can all be powered from one module. So the Crash 2 has its own dedicated input in the back. And like I said, you have those 3 auxiliary inputs to expand and truly customize your setup to however you want to do it. And with that, we also have direct outs in the back. So it's set up for like a small gig situation. So think about this. How many times have we shown up to a gig with our acoustic drums and they only mic the bass drum and they only mic the snare drum, and then they set up a couple overheads? That's it. You can probably raise your hand virtually out there in the world and say, yeah, I've been there. So this module is set up for that. We have a direct out 1 and a direct out 2, which could be your kick and your snare. And then we have a master right and left. And so you could do the master right and left as the overhead mics. And so the toms, all the cymbals come through the master right and left. So now the sound engineer has independent control over your kick drum, independent control over your snare drum, and then the rest of the kit that he or she can mix in. However, with that feature I showed you earlier of being able to adjust each level of each pad independently, you can almost pre-mix all of that stuff. So even if the toms need to come up slightly, instead of just doing it through the master right and left, you can do it right there and adjust the individual level of those drums, bring those up in the mix, and then when you send that signal to the front of house, it's already pre-dialed in, ready to go. So the connectivity of the 27 is set up for you to connect with others, create music with others, and to connect to your audience in a live setting or a worship setting or a streaming setting like we're talking about right now. So it's an excellent tool for any drummer that really wants to take their abilities, their imagination up to the next level.
So we actually got a couple questions from the audience. You were mentioning earlier, talking about the intricacies of the drum head and that it's like super responsive and like playing a real drum. Our man Flam was asking, how about playing with brushes on the snare drum?
So great question, Flam. So brushes, it's okay to use plastic brushes on our mesh. You do never ever use wire brushes on our mesh. You will damage the material. But the nylon brushes, those are cool to use. Now the brush setting is actually, there's samples inside the module, and you would turn on and off the brush setting to give you that brush sound characteristic, right? And so you could assign the brush sound into the module, and then if you're playing with those nylon brushes, you're then getting the feel of that. But with the digital snare, because of its multi-sensing capability, when you use the brush, you will get that drag sound on the drum as well. So that's pretty cool. But good question, Lamb. James, you have anything else you wanted to expand on that?
No, no, it's a common question, and the brushes work quite nicely.
Can you take like one of the snare models and then like apply a brush sound to it? Like, could you take like the aluminum snare and then apply brushes, or brushes a setting on its own?
Yeah, sure. Let me try that. Why
To
not?
really get it to work, though, you actually need brushes.
Yeah, I won't be able to show you that fun part, but we can at least go in and I can show you what I'm talking about here.
Meaning, if you turn on the brushes setting and still play with sticks, I mean, you're hitting the drum hard, so you kind of lose that sound.
Yeah.
While he's pulling that up, Ed Scott was going to ask about a rivet sound option.
Yes, actually, I can. While he's pulling that up, I can go into one.
So
of those.
there's the brush snare.
Oh, okay, you got that. You can kind of hear it.
Oh, I actually have the. My room is still the giant big hall room, so let me let me turn that off for a second. I was like, "Ooh, that's pretty echoey." Right, so you're getting that. You're getting the tonal color of the brush. But with those nylon brushes, like I said before, then you'll be able to get the swirl right with that. So that's really, really cool. And then James, what were you pulling up there, bud?
Going into the rivet section, if I pull up a cymbal, I can easily do that. You have that. You have it.
So here we go.
There you go.
We'll go into edit right here, and then sizzle type. Right now it's off. Then we can do rivets. I can do a chain. I can do beads. And then I can adjust the amount of that. So let me do it all the way to the top. And let's go back to rivets. So great for your jazz playing. And you can really, I love rivets. I have a ton of ride cymbals that have rivets in them. They're just, I think it's just a gorgeous tonal color, especially when playing jazz or just even pop music nowadays. You know, just having that ability to add sizzle, literally, to anything. And so, yeah, you can do that to this. You can do it to your crash cymbals. You can add rivets to your crash, anything you want. Great question. Great question. Any other questions out there that we...
Darren, you got any more questions for us?
Well, just one thing I wanted to add as far as like the heads. I know on the bass drum, it's important not to use a felt beater. Because...
Correct, Darren.
Right?
Absolutely. Now, that's true, particularly with mesh heads. So people always think, well, the felt is softer, so it'll be gentler on the mesh. But what it actually does is it creates a little bit of friction right there. So as soon as you hit with that felt beater, it's just slightly twisting, and it actually pulls the mesh material over time. It's kind of like when you have a great sweater and you start to get the little nubs on your sweater and stuff like that. You're just like, ugh, you know, after you washed it too many times. So that'll happen with the felt beater. So we always recommend with all V-Drums products to use the plastic side of the beater or a full plastic beater. With the VAD series, it's really cool because the pad itself for the kick drum is only about this big. It's actually mounted inside of a 20-inch clear head, right? It's an ambassador head that has a hole cut in it, and this is mounted in there, and then it's covered with a protective batter board around it. So it has a full batter board around all the 20-inch diameter. But even the material that the head is made out of here, the foam piece that it has the trigger and houses the trigger, it's a cloth-like material. So it gives a lot, like it feels like you're burying the kick beater into the snare, into the head and stuff like that. Like you can feel it push like you would on an actual acoustic drum. But what's cool about that material is it's very forgiving. It feels great. It absorbs a lot of sound, and that plastic beater feels really great on it. And we, even with that material, although it's not technically a mesh, we still recommend that you do use the plastic side of the beater. Absolutely. And then it kind of goes back to what I was talking with Flam about with the brushes on the head, right? That will ruin the material if you use wire brushes, similar with the felt beater. And with the Roland double mesh, I mean, that we had literally changed the game with the mesh head and the way that ours is designed with the 45-degree angle. So it gives you the best stick resistance back and forth. Now, actually, with the 14-inch floor tom here and the 14-inch snare drum, because the diameter has increased by a couple of inches, we actually discovered that using a 3-ply mesh head gives us the best feel and response, not only for triggering, but just your stick feel and your stick resistance. So there's actually it's a dual mesh head at the 45-degree angle, but there's a floating layer in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have that on the digital snare, and you have that on the 14-inch floor tom. So again, it was all about that, the design of the drums, the electronics, the head, all together working in tandem to give you the best triggering response and the best playing feel that you can get. And so we've spared no expense and gone the extra research and development mileage to do that and to figure that out, because we tried a 2-ply head on the 14 floor tom and it just didn't feel right, you know. So even a increasing of diameter by a little bit can make a big difference like that.
Dave Leister has a question about compatibility between the TD17 and past kits. Is the TD17 backwards compatible to original V-Drum concert kit drums and cymbals with the TD10 module?
Yeah.
Yes. So you are able to assign the pad types to those type of pads with the TD17. So if you wanted to upgrade your module like that, to Dave, if you wanted to upgrade your module, yes, you could attach your pads. And the TD17 module has also that multi-pin harness cable loom adapter, which comes with the module as well. So if you purchase the 17, just the module, you'll get the cable harness with it. And then you would just use that to run into your input jacks of all of your pads that you have. Yeah.
That's the nice thing about Roland modules, is that they have all the settings for past pads that we've made. So it makes it nice and easy for upgrading or buying new components or whatnot.
Absolutely. So Dave, you would go into the TD17 module, should you choose that as your solution, and you would just assign the pad. The TD10, I believe, had PD 125s, if I'm not mistaken. Back then, that was a little before my time with the company, but I'm looking back in my historical Rolodex in my mind. I think it was about a 125. So you would find that pad assignment in the module setting in the menu, and that way the module knows what type of pad that it's looking for, if it's a single zone pad or a double, a dual zone pad. So it knows what it's seeking to find, and it'll give you the best response out of that module. Yep. Great question.
Cool.
Any others?
I think we should give away this drum throne.
Oh,
I think we kept people waiting long enough. Let's give something away, and then let's jam in on these drums.
Let's do it.
So, guys, behind the scenes, who is our winner? Who's winning this Roland drum throne? Do it. There it is. Michael Dufresne from New York.
Representing Roland Island.
Yeah,
thanks for playing. Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this thing with us. We appreciate it. We'll hit you up tomorrow. We'll get you this sweet drum throne. You have a place to sit now.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
You know, your feet will thank you because now you have a very comfortable place to sit down and take a load off.
All
and
thanks
have a
to
great
Roland.
time making some music, man. That's awesome.
We appreciate it.
Congratulations to Michael. If there's no other questions, I would like to play one more song for you to close it out. I really appreciate you all being here and hanging with us today. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the V-Drums acoustic design. I hope you liked what you heard. I hope you really liked what you saw. And again, use this time, take advantage, head on down to Chuck Levin's and check out these kits. If you know, maybe you can get down there before the person before you does, so you can actually get this thing, right? Because they're saying it's popular and it's flying off the shelves. So again, thank you to Chuck Levin's for having us. Thanks to Adam. Thanks to Darren for being on here with us. Thanks to James and the rest of the crew at Roland that helped put this together. So yeah, if you have any more questions, check out chucklevins.com and they're ready to help you out. Absolutely no problem.
Yeah. Call us up anytime. We love it. We're here to jam.
Nice.
Take it away, Pat.
Awesome, guys.
Lay it on
again,
us.
And we'll see you soon. We'll do more of these, so we'll catch you on next time. So here we go.
Awesome. Thanks again, Roland. Thanks again, Pat and James, for being here. We appreciate it. Tune in next week for another Chuck Levin's Live. Oh, and thanks, Darren. Thanks for hanging late.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you. We'll do it again next week, Chuck Levin's Live. And if you wanted your chance to win one of these sweet T-shirts, you're going to have your chance next week. So stay tuned. See you next week. Happy Wednesday. Have a good week. Keep making music.